All right, folks, so get your popcorn ready and sit back because this is going to be a long video. I'm going to tell you what I love about Seattle. Bam! What's up? No, I'm just joking. Uh, anyway, so I did my video that talks about the things I dislike about Seattle, but I'm going to talk about the things I love about Seattle, which is there's a lot. I love the diversity. Seattle has a tremendous amount of different groups of people. So let's deal with the Asian side of it. And we have an area here that's called the International District, Chinatown. And most of what you see there is Chinese in terms of businesses and people. So the vast majority of the people there are going to be Chinese. You go up a little bit, and you're going to see a huge Vietnamese section. There's a small Japanese section as well, which is called J-Town. The Vietnamese section is called Little Saigon. There's some Cambodian. There's quite a bit of different folks that are here in terms of Asian. There's also a large Samoan population. The Korean population is not really heavy in the international district, but when you go to places like Linwood, it's Edmonds, Linwood, Shoreline area, quite a bit. You'll see a ton of Korean restaurants and businesses and things like that. So that's one of the things I like is the diversity of just the different types of Asian people that live here. There's a huge East African population here in Seattle. Just even over here, I can go to the park, take the kids to the park, and you'll hear different languages. Within our apartment community, there's different languages from Africa, so that's wonderful. You also have a lot of people from Europe, different parts of Europe. Just the sounds of all the languages, I love it. It's just beautiful to hear that, from Spanish to Latvian to Bosnian. You have folks from Ukraine, Russia, a lot of Russian. You have, of course, your Brits, you have your Germans, you have your Italians. Like, there's so many different groups of people here. And of course, you have a lot of people from Mexico and, Central America, the Caribbean. It's truly a melting pot. Now, while some of those other populations aren't huge, the fact that it's here is great. The crazy thing is that Seattle used to be the biggest whitest city in America. That's definitely changed quite a bit. There's still obviously more white people here than any other group, but Asians are next. There's actually more Asians here than black people. So, a lot of times people are like, wow, just drive around. You can go to the University District area and you will see mostly Asian students outside of white students, and then you see black students and everybody else. So that's one of the things I like. Going to the University District, love it. Love it. University District is like a hive of activity. Not only is the University of Washington, which is another one of my loves, University of Washington is one of the top universities in the country, public universities. It's almost on the same level as an Ivy League school. Has a tremendous amount of impact in the local community. It does a lot for the economy of Seattle. There's so much. I could spend an hour just talking about the University of Washington, what it does for the city, what it does for the entire state. Then the University District is right there, which includes a lot of other different universities. But just within that area, you have a hive of young people going about up and down what's called the Ave, which is one of the main thoroughfares in the University District. It's just buzzing with kids, and I call them kids now. It's sad, they're college age, so I have to call them kids now. I'm getting old, but they're everywhere, and all of the new businesses and eateries and just hip places They opened up a Cali burger here, which I haven't tried yet, but from all of the reviews, American Apparel is there. So you have all of these different types of businesses that are right there. It looks like its own little downtown with all of the people that are around. With that said, go to downtown. Downtown Seattle, bomb. Bomb. One of the things I love that attracted me about Seattle is every aspect of downtown. Whether you're down towards the southern part where Chinatown is, and you go up to where the Columbia Center is, which is the tallest building. That area, by the way, which goes into another like I like, is getting more taller buildings, taller than Columbia Center, built there. Like they've already dug pits and everything. Then you go up, and Smith Tower is right down there too, which is the oldest skyscraper in the city. And then you go up, just the tremendous amount of buildings downtown. I love. It is so dense. It feels like, I wouldn't say New York because that's kind of a stretch. Chicago-ish a little bit. Obviously Chicago has tons more buildings, that type of thing, but just the cluster effect of all of the buildings is tremendous. I would even argue that we have the best downtown on the West Coast. There's this debate who has the best downtown on the West Coast between LA, San Francisco, and Seattle, because really and truly, I love San Diego, but you can't really count their downtown. The buildings are pretty short. You can't really count Portland because there's not really that many skyscrapers there. So really, the only cities that San Jose has just short buildings too, really. So really, the only cities that are in the running would be Seattle, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. Los Angeles, they have some tall buildings, but there's not much of a downtown in Los Angeles. Yes, they have, it's there, but it's really not dense. It leaves it down to two, Seattle and San Francisco. Which one has a better downtown? I would argue that Seattle does have a better downtown than San Francisco, just due to just the cluster of the buildings, the different height of the buildings. We're actually getting more. Right now, LA has the tallest skyscraper. It beats out the Columbia Center. I think it's the King Center, whatever the white building is that's, oval at the top in Los Angeles. That's the tallest, but right now they're developing a building downtown that's going to be taller than that. It's going to be the tallest on the West Coast, even though San Francisco and LA are building additional buildings. We're building a lot more here. That goes to my other like. My other like and love also deals with the whole building. I love Skylines. When you come into Seattle, all you see is sky cranes everywhere. There's cranes all over the city. There was a report that says we have more cranes in Seattle than any other city in the country. So we beat New York, we beat Chicago, we beat LA, Miami, you name it. There's more sky cranes here than any other city in the country. Just looking at South Lake Union, where Amazon is nothing but cranes everywhere. They took an industrial dump and turned it into really a city of its own. You go everywhere and all you see is just development downtown, just dozens of cranes everywhere. I love that. My other like deals with the satellite cities. I can't even call them suburbs anymore because they're so big. You have Bellevue, which is towards the east, which is a beautiful city. It's more of a ritzier part of the metro area, very expensive area. But Bellevue is not a big city. I think it's probably 250,000 or so or less. But if you look at the downtown area of Bellevue, it rivals that of any city in America outside of your major ones. So, for example, if you look at Oklahoma City and you look at Bellevue, or if you look at Austin, Texas, and Bellevue, or if you look at Jacksonville, Florida versus Bellevue, Bellevue has more of, or Albuquerque, definitely in Bellevue. Bellevue has just this unique, it has been, again, sky cranes everywhere, big tall buildings. It's like Seattle East, literally. And then you have Tacoma. which sits as a bookend at the end. So it's kind of like this triangle. You know, you have Seattle, you have Bellevue, you have Tacoma. Tacoma's beautiful. It hasn't had the build up as Bellevue and Seattle has, but here in the future, it seems like there's a lot of work that's going on. The university down there is expanding. University of Washington Tacoma is expanding down there. There's been talk of building these big, tall hotels and buildings and things like that that's coming up. So also they're expanding the light rail system down there in Tacoma from its current position. It was actually the first light rail, modern light rail that was developed here in this area. And it was before even the light rail system in Seattle. This was developed first, and they're expanding it, which leads me to my second like about this area, which, although I complained about traffic, this metro area is really big on transportation. People seem to vote for it every single time it comes up for voting. These huge voting packages of several $billions just for light rail and trains and everything gets approved. And we're talking massive, massive amounts of money. The last one I think was 15 billion that was approved, 15.5 billion dollars that was approved. So that gives you an idea. These expensive houses and the taxes behind them can definitely pay for the things that the city needs. So they're building up the light rail system down in Tacoma, which is technically a streetcar. Just based on the model that they're using. It has nothing to do with the fact it's running in the street, but it technically is a streetcar. It's the same one that Portland streetcar uses. Same thing. But still, and it can't be coupled together, so it's really technically a streetcar, but they call it a light rail. So I love that. Even Tacoma has that. Seattle has a true light rail, but it's also somewhat of a subway system. You know, we lost out on a subway back in the day because the folks at the time in Seattle didn't want to build a subway system in Seattle. It was actually approved. Federal government was going to pay the bulk of it. So the people here denied it. They didn't want it. So then that money goes down to Atlanta. Atlanta, Georgia says, yes, we'll take it. They build a subway system. Even stops, some of the stops in Atlanta aren't really even put in the right spots, but they said, hey, you know what? We're going to get this money. We're going to build it. And they wanted to make it bigger, but they made it smaller just to make sure that it would work financially. And boom, Atlanta has it. And you can see how Atlanta built their downtown in a straight line because that's kind of the way the subway system runs there, even though it's kind of like a T-shape. But Seattle is now building its light rail system, a lot of which is underground, especially when you get into downtown. They're adding just this year, they're going to open up, my cat's trying to get in, but they're trying to open up the university area. So they're adding 2 stops heading north because eventually the line's going to extend all the way up to Everett, which is very far away. But they're basically opening up 2 stops to the north, which is basically in the Capitol Hill area, and then up to the Husky Stadium at the University of Washington. So that's going to open up early this year. And then they have Angel Lake to the south, which is south of the airport, which is going to be opened up later this year. But also, not only that, and I have to say, the one that's being built from downtown up to the university is all underground. So several of the stops, basically from I believe from the International District all the way up to the university, is going to all be underground. So we have a subway type of system too. So they're trying to make up for what they didn't get before, it seems. But they have to build it underground. It's just so dense here. The other thing on side of that is that Seattle is trying to make sure that people understand, hey, we need to connect within downtown because, again, traffic is bad, parking's bad. So we have the Seattle streetcar system. So currently we have the South Lake Union line, which was first developed, and now they're finishing up the First Hill streetcar system. So they're in 2 different areas. The streetcar lines are not connected. but they're trying to fix that by adding a connector which will connect both lines together, and then eventually you're going to have other lines that will also open up. So they're going to do the Broadview connection, and then you have that whole entire linkage. So you can go all the way from from Amazon's corporate campus. You can take that all the way up to Pike Place Market, and then you can take that all the way down to the International District if you would like, and then you can connect to the light rail system underground along different stops along the way. One of the other things that I love about Seattle is Pike Place Market. Now, it's definitely a tourist spot. It gets a lot of tourism, but I love it. The activity there is crazy. The businesses there are wonderful. You can find some of the best flowers. You can find some of the best candy, some of the best dried fruit. You can find some of the best fish. There's tons of stuff that you can say about that market. The kids love it. The waterfront, which is also downtown, amazing. Tons of stuff to do from the big wheel, I think is what it's called, which is a giant Ferris wheel. You can definitely take boat tours around, the harbor, that type of things. There's tons of stuff to see and do down there. Great food, lots of cool restaurants to go to. And then one of the other things that I truly love about Seattle is the water. No matter where you go, you're close to water. And that's one of the wonderful things about it. It's beautiful. Whether it's a freshwater lake or whether it's salt water, all of it is within pretty much just a short distance from one another. You can drive to it within 5 minutes. So you have Lake Washington, you have all of these different things that you can do with that, and then you have the Sound, which it's called the Sound, which you can basically go out there and you can see whales very close by, which is awesome. All of the beaches that are here, whether it's freshwater or saltwater beaches, they're all pretty much right here that you can pretty much go to. So that, on top of the fact that there's tons of shopping, you got to understand, Nordstrom is based out of their headquarters is based out of Seattle. Someone's blowing leaves, so I apologize for the noise. But I love that too, and of course Noelle loves it. But shopping is big here. So the Westlake Center, which is the hub of downtown for transit and for some of the shopping, you can basically connect to the monorail, which takes you out to Seattle Center. But also the light rail system stops there, the streetcar system stops there, but also you have a huge mall where you can get to Nordstrom Rack, you can go to a lot of the shops and things like that are downtown. You have South Center Mall, which is towards the south. Then you have Northgate Mall, which is closer to where I live, which has tons and tons of shopping. So you can pretty much find everything you want here. One of the things that Seattle doesn't have a lot of is chains. So a lot of the chains that you would expect to be here are not here. And when it comes to restaurants and things like that, it definitely does support the small business attitude, which adds to the wealth of the city. So those are some of the things that I really love about Seattle. I can go on and on and on about the things I love about Seattle. It completely outweighs the things I dislike. One of the things I mentioned that I dislike was the rain, but I also love the rain here. The fact that it kind of gets the cloudy skies, it looks so great. I'm looking out right now, it's kind of cloudy, and with these big giant pine trees, I mean, they're huge. Just the fog and the mist and everything, it just looks so, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. You can see bald eagles and stuff like that flying around. So this is what I love about Seattle. It's a wonderful city to me. I'm not gonna move. I even got this for Christmas, which is a 3D puzzle of the Space Needle that I actually built within a few minutes of getting it because I love it. But if you haven't been, definitely come visit Seattle. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for subscribing. Give me some likes if you definitely want to. Any comments that you want to put down below, definitely do so. And until next time, I will see you.